Quiero sufrir, linda canción.
Music and Ideas, KBCS HD1, Bellevue, Seattle, Tacoma. A broadcast service of Bellevue College since 1973. Good Friday afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. My name is Ian Hughes. Thanks for coming along here with us today. La Hasa finishing up that set. We also had Eddie Victoria in there and Logan Ledger. And going back to Gillian Welch's Honey Now. Yeah, you can check all that out on our website if you'd like at kbcs.fm. I am very pleased to welcome into the KBCS studio the founders of the Rumba Kings, a couple of guys who, for the past 8 years or so, have positively lit up the stages that they've played on. They met through a mutual friend in 2015, quickly discovered a musical kinship and shared love of Latin and Mediterranean music. Think the Gypsy Kings, but with layers of Greek and Latin and Italian and Arabic influence woven throughout. In some ways, bands like the Rumba Kings are split into two. The first is a album band. It is beautiful and it's evocative and in the recordings. And the second is a vibrant and joyous one found on the stage, like the upcoming show at the Triple Door. You can catch it on March 3rd and March 4th. We're going to start today with an album cut, and then we're going to dig into what makes this band tick and what makes their live performances so special. This is the Rumba Kings, 91.3 KBCS. 91.3 KBCS Music and Ideas. We are live in the studio with the Rumba Kings and listening to their latest cut right there. We are going to go back to a moment before the two of you guys met. George, you come from an extraordinary music family. Your grandfather, your father, your brothers, they all play music. And you started, I believe, at maybe even the age of about 8. Is this true? And my guess is that where there was a world with so much music in the air, you were sort of maybe drawn to it. And then I thought, I don't know, maybe I'm romanticizing what it's like with all that music around.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
Actually,
that world.
I was a little late to the game. I started playing after my grandfather's passing, and in our culture, we mourn for a year, so we can't play any music till a year after his passing. And so my dad had a mandolin. He didn't play it. It was just like he played accordion, and he had a mandolin that he kept in a closet. And every time he'd leave the house, I would pick up that mandolin and try to learn how to play it, just to carry on the tradition of my grandfather, you know. And so about 2 weeks go by, I learned how to play Never on a Sunday. It's a Greek tune. And my dad caught me playing his mandolin, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Hey, that's mine. Don't belong to you. You know, you're not supposed to play that." So, but he goes, "Pick it back up, and I want you to play that song again." Then he grabbed his accordion and started playing along, and then next thing you know, he's crying, and I'm crying, and next thing you know, he's buying me guitars, bazookies, and that's where it all started. I was about 13 years old when that happened, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what was the impulse there that this was a special instrument, and he didn't want, you know how kids are. Kids can really trash an instrument really quick.
Of course, yeah.
And so was he worried about the sort of the respect you were bringing, and suddenly something clicked, and he said, "Wait a minute, this kid's actually kind of playing."
Exactly what happened, yeah. He, I really never played an instrument until I picked up that mandolin.
Did you then go into formal lessons or anything?
No,
or were you just kind of playing by ear?
No, all by ear, yeah. I couldn't read a note. I didn't know what an A minor was. I didn't know any of that stuff. It was just hear it and play it, you know.
That's so cool. I absolutely love that. And then quickly, with the year, so is that a really strict observance? So it's a year where you put the instruments down and you don't play them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is really intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it make the picking back up of the music, of the instruments, more special 365 days later? Is there something sort of like on when it's finally that time to do it again? You're a little rusty, you're kind of figuring it out, but it must sort of be like a bird taking flight or something,
it's like
right?
riding a bike.
Yeah. So. That's cool. That's cool. Johnny, speaking of growing up in a musical family, your father, who immigrated from Greece, was a restaurateur here. And It sounds like you grew up just with a home filled with jukeboxes and albums and records, and you must have just been exposed to an enormous amount of music from these jukeboxes.
Yeah, that was in the 70s when, that's what my dad owned, taverns and bars and restaurants. And they would rotate the music in the jukeboxes every couple months to, for the new top 40 songs. And he would bring them home in boxes, all these singles. And that's how I got exposed to Elton John and, Motown music, Barry Manilow, and all the hits of the 70s, were basically coming into our home via 45s. And that's where I really developed my passion for music, from those 45s.
We're talking to the Rumba Kings. They're going to be performing at the Triple Door on March 3rd and 4th. Johnny, your evolution to me is so interesting, listening to you talk about some of these early records like Elton John and whatnot, and then your career kind of takes sort of a different turn as you start musically. You're a founding member, I don't even know quite how to say it, where it sort of makes sense, but you're a founding member of Alice in Chains with Lane Staley, but not sort of the Lane Staley, Alice in Chains that most of us are thinking about right now.
The first incarnation
of it, right? Yeah.
Right. We started it, and we actually had the name Alice in Chains. We had put a little apostrophe before the N, So we changed it so it was more technically Alice and Chains.
Yeah.
And we did that to kind of bypass our parents and how strict they were. Some of them were anyways.
How old were you about this time?
We were, when we made the name change, 16,
Because this would have been, what, like 87?
It would have, well, it would have been early,
86?
85,
Okay.
86, somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh. Then you sort of went off with your other band, Second Coming, and you had a fairly good hit, I think, with Unknown Rider, which is a really cool driving song, very 90s to my ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Vintage Eyes and Saw. We had 3 big rock radio singles, all of which hit the Billboard charts. We got up to 11, number 11 on the Billboard charts. I can't remember which one. I think it was Vintage Eye, or maybe it was Unknown Rider. Can't remember now. But we charted on the Billboard charts and everything with those.
There's sort of two sides to the music from you. Then it's like I hear this hard driving thing, and then there's sort of this romanticism with Rumba Kings. But then when I hear a song like Arabic, it feels in some ways like the intensity of it. It feels like two parts of you coming together musically. Am I?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Right?
I didn't write Arabic, but the energy of Arabic is something in that Phrygian key that we're playing in, and we did a lot of that in Second Coming. But yeah, there's always been this like dichotomy with me where I loved the heavy rock music. And then I loved the really beautiful Gypsy Kings, Yanni type music, especially when the New Age thing hit in the early 90s and the Gypsy Kings came out. So I had a dual passion. Now, if I would have met someone like George in high school, I would have probably went down this route. But the guys I met in high school were rockers. So that part of my passion developed back then. And then later on in life, I meet someone like George, and now I'm able to develop this passion I have.
So in the early 90s then, with Second Coming and whatnot, and you got this hard rock thing going, you already at that point were listening to Gypsy Kings and the Windham Hill
that's
stuff.
That's all I listened to in the tour bus.
Wow. Was that weird to the other guys, or was that something like sort of a natural reflex? You're doing this heavy thing, and it's really important to then maybe flip that brain a little bit and do something different.
I mean, it's funny because if you ask those guys, like what we listened to in the tour bus, we had, one of the guys always listened to ZZ Top. Another guy was listening to, the singer was listening to the heaviest stuff imaginable, like Pantera and stuff like that, And then I was listening to more of the ballads and the really pretty stuff.
Oh, cool.
So it's just, I was playing heavy rock every night. So that's... I listen to different stuff during the day.
I love it. We're talking to the Rumba Kings, and we're going to take a listen to Arabic, 91.3 KBCS. 101.3 KBCS, Roots Rock and Soul. We are listening to the Rumba Kings. We have these guys live here in the studio at KBCS and so thrilled to have them. They will be performing at the Triple Door on March 3rd and March 4th. And we were just listening right there to Arabic, which, guys, that just has such an intensity. We were talking while the song was playing about how you could put that through, a distortion pedal and it becomes almost like a hard rock song. And I love it. The intensity there is so cool. You have another song called D'Artagnan, and I immediately think of the Three Musketeers when I hear, the name D'Artagnan, and I sort of love this guy. He's the young character in this, the story, one of the heroes, but he somehow manages to fight every person in the book, his friends, his enemies. He just goes at everybody and doesn't really particularly care. And I just find him sort of delightful in it. And so I'm listening to the song, and I'm not entirely sure if, in fact, it is about D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers in any loose way. So I should start there. Is there a Three Musketeers connection?
It is. The song was written by a good friend of mine down in L.A., Danny Lee, better known as Danny Fender. Brilliant guitar player. Is one of my guys I looked up to growing up as a musician, and was deeply inspired by him. And he wrote that song watching Three Musketeers on TV with the volume down, and it was a sword fight going on that scene. And he had his guitar in his hand, and he was playing his guitar to match the scene. And that's how he wrote the song, and he ended up naming it D'Artagnan after his favorite character.
I love it. I love it. That's really funny. As an aside, we had the cactus blossoms in here yesterday, and we somehow started talking about libraries and specifically interlibrary loans. And then now today, you guys are making me talk about the Three Musketeers. This is like turning into the nerdiest book show. It's supposed to be about music, but we'll take it. We'll roll with it.
All right.
How did you guys meet? So you have these two sort of separate paths going, and then at some point you have a pal that kind of puts you together. And then how did you meet? And then how did you actually figure out you had this thing in common, this sort of Mediterranean mix of music in your heads that you wanted to do?
All right. You want me to do that one? We can jump in or whatever.
Go for it.
So I recently moved at the time. This was, 2015?
2015.
Yeah. So recently moved here from Southern California, and I really didn't know anybody. And I moved to Edmonds, Washington. And me and my wife went out one night because we were celebrating. We just got the house, and we just moved here, and we were so excited. So we went in for a drink, and I immediately met the owner of the place that it's called The Loft in Edmonds, and he's a Greek guy. So we got to talking and telling him where I come from and my background as a musician and my inspiration of Greek music. And he tells me he's a musician also. He plays accordion. So he goes, well, bring your guitar one day and we'll just jam. I go, well, I got one even better. I know two other guitar players that I could bring along too. And we'll just bring the guitars and play and have fun, just make us a little deal on the drinks, you know what I mean? And so we went in, played a couple of times, and the whole place went nuts, It was just a little three-piece band. So I guess then Nico goes and calls Johnny. He's a good friend of Johnny's, and I guess go ahead and take over from there, John.
Yeah, so I was looking for musicians at that time to form a band like this, to kind of get I felt like I played the whole rock thing out I was in the same band for 17, 18 years, and I was ready to do something different. And so I started auditioning musicians in 2010, and I get this call from Nico, and he's like, you got to see these guys play, especially this lead guitar player. He's fantastic. So I dress up one night, and a friend of mine and I go out there. I see them playing, and right away I'd see George, and he's in his suit, and he's playing this beautiful music, and he's got the guitar in the air, and just playing really emotionally and everything. And I was like, that's the guy. There he is. So George goes out and has a smoke break, and when he smoked, he doesn't smoke anymore, by the way. Yeah. And
don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Stay
so he he comes back in, and this funny story that we always tell. He comes up to me and he goes, "I love your suit. What are you wearing? I love those lapels." And I'm like, "Forget the suit. Forget the lapels. We need to talk music." And I go, "Are you a songwriter also?" And he goes, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." And he whips out his iPhone and plays me a song that he wrote. Beautiful song, which is actually in our show now. And I said, you know, we need to meet. We need to get together and share our ideas. And let me show you what I'm working on in my studio and show me what you're doing. He came to my house the next day, literally the next day, and we played each other the music we're doing, and we started working that day on what ended up being our debut double disc album, which had 21 songs on it, something like that.
Oh my Lord, that's like an explosion. To me, it says here's two guys that were waiting for something, and then when it happened.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's an excellent observation. Because we didn't just do a single. We didn't do an EP. Yeah. We did a double disc album, of all things, for our debut.
Yeah, it's a race. I love it.
You know, so we spent 2 years on that, and the goal was to create basically to create our set list for a live show. So by doing this, we kind of killed two birds with one stone. We created basically an entire set list, and we created a product now. And after that, we were up and running. By middle of 2016 or so, we put a live band together and we started gigging.
That's brilliant. Do you guys think that, you know, all the grinding that had gone before Rumba Kings, is that sort of, did that pay off in this moment?
Oh, huge.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. We learned the monopoly rules of the business, first of all. And, you know, for me, I started learning production in the mid-2000s through the producer that was working with Second Coming. And I basically told him, I'll be your water boy, I'll clean your car, let me just watch you in the studio and teach me Pro Tools. Teach me how to produce music and how to engineer. And I'll get your coffee, whatever you want, just train me. Let me mentor me on this. Let me be your apprentice. And that's how, and I spent the next 5 years basically working as his apprentice, comping drums and doing all the stuff that he didn't want to do. And that's how I learned how to engineer and produce, and which put us in a position to where we can self-produce our records now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just, you know, that's just crucial.
Crucial.
That's brilliant. That's and that is the way to do it. Just grind it. You know, because you got to do the work. You know, you got to make the mistakes, and you got to figure it out. Sometimes, you know, the hard way a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I started playing professionally when I was about 15. And we started me and my brother down in L.A. were gigging probably 3 nights a week in these small little bars. And I was only 15 years old. I was playing in a Greek nightclub. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we started getting these private gigs.
Were you playing bouzouki or guitar?
I was playing both. I was playing bouzouki and guitar. And that's kind of, I think, the attraction where what led me towards Johnny is because he's Greek and he loves, you know, grew up around Greek music, and so did I. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then plus this passion for this Latin flair music, the Gypsy Kings and all that. So we had a lot in common. But I honed my craft down in L.A. doing these gigs 3 nights a week, working for peanuts. You know what I mean? And that's where I kind of learned stage presence. Anybody could, you know, get on stage and play guitar, but to actually make a show out of it and stand up, hold the guitar in the air, close my eyes, and dance while I was playing the guitar, put on a show, and I seen how the crowd would react to it. And that's kind of how I honed my craft. It was, you know, just digging it out of the dirt.
You can see that on some of the old videos of you, like back in the day. There's some on YouTube that I pop up once in a while.
Yeah.
And God, you must be in your early 20s, and you got the guitar in the air, and you're doing basic. It's like you crafted that.
Yeah.
You crafted that on those stages there.
Absolutely.
And now it's really being utilized on our stage right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would highly recommend you checking out the Rumba Kings on YouTube. Their videos are spectacular. They just are vibrant and so fun. These guys are going to be at the Triple Door on March 3rd and again on March 4th. We're going to take a listen to D'Artagnan, and we'll be right back. 91.3 KBCS. 101.3 KBCS Roots Rock and Soul. Listening to the Rumba Kings, they will be live at the Triple Door on March 3rd and 4th, and we have them live right here in the studio and really enjoying their music. Guys, we're listening right there to D'Artagnan. We got one more that we're going to take a listen to here in a moment, but let's just very quickly revisit that live thing that we were talking about right before D'Artagnan kicked off, because that, I think, as we said in the beginning, you guys got you got your studio vibe and you got your album vibe, which is live and well when you're pumping out 21 songs, for your debut release. But there's something particularly joyous and vibrant about that live show where you were sort of interacting deeply with the audience. And you were saying, George, that this started for you when you were, in 15. And Johnny, I mean, it must have been in some of those hard rock shows where sometimes the blur between the band and the audience is almost impossible to tell as the two forces sort of come together. Is that sort of where you guys honed this live thing? Because it doesn't really feel, it's a show, right? Like you guys work on this, but it feels supernatural when you see you guys play.
Yeah, it is. I've honed it in a way of knowing what works and what doesn't. But as far as my performance, it's a natural thing that happens when I hear the music. I can't sit down and play. The music makes me move. I have to hold my guitar in the air and dance. It just, I can't sit down.
Was that even when you were learning? Like, was that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. There's pictures of me when I was younger, holding guitar, and as I'm playing, I'm doing the same thing. I'm holding guitar in the air. Instead of holding it straight this way,
I think we have that on our website.
Yeah.
Like 15 years old with the guitar
the
in the
guitar
air.
is up in the air, and that felt comfortable to me, and that's the way I learned how to play.
That's cool. When it's not working, are you able to turn on it? Is that like can you sense that in the moment? Like, are you pulling the energy right from the audience and sort of cued in and saying, this is working, this is not working, we're going to do this?
Yes. Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reading the crowd is that comes from experience. Yeah, just a lot of stage time, and always getting better, trying to get better at that. That's a huge element. Putting on a good show.
Don't listen to them. Always getting better. Come on. You guys are so good. We are talking to the Rumba Kings. They're going to be at the Triple Door on March 3rd and 4th. And then what do you guys got? What's next for you guys? Are you working on some new stuff, some new albums? We were listening to a new song there at the top of this.
Love from Mykonos. Yeah, we have some new songs that are in production right now. Excuse me. I don't know what got something. I think we partied too hard last night.
Yeah, we
went to see a friend of ours band play last night, and we had a good time. We have some songs in production right now.
Nice.
And what else we got going on?
We're trying to build a show. Ideas for the show, different visual elements
for the next shows.
For the next shows coming up, almost like props. We both come from ethnic backgrounds, Eastern European, where we find that there's something to a scene in a tavern. A table.
Don't give away too much, though.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
At a tavern, and just a single guitar or a bouzouki, and we've got something special in the works.
We're in production right now for our September shows at the Triple Door. Okay. We started a month and a half ago for production on these shows. So these shows take us, I would say, like I said, we're right now in not even March, and we're producing the September shows for the Triple Door.
So we are sort of seeing
months.
an evolution.
Yes.
We're going to see something here in March on the 3rd and 4th.
Yes.
And then we're going to see something this fall.
We're going to take it to another level. Every show, our goal is to take it to another level, introduce new elements to the shows, introduce new ethnic pieces to the shows. One show may have an Arabic segment, another one may have an Italian segment, another a Greek segment, another a Latin medley. And then we'll bring dancers out that correspond with that particular segment. We'll have props out. It's a big production.
Speak to that for just a moment, Johnny, and George. Jump in too. Sort of the diversity of sound that you guys pull together. Speak to the importance of keeping those traditions alive, keeping those sounds alive, and not just that. I think what you guys do so interestingly is you're pulling in, maybe similar, maybe related, but actually quite different pieces. It feels. What's the word for it? Representative. It feels really diverse, and is that how you guys are thinking about it as you're kind of pulling these pieces together?
Yeah. Well, I think when we first got together, and this was kind of my vision of since I was a kid, was to create a show that would take the audience on a tour around the Mediterranean, Eastern Europe, and just give them from all different angles, different elements of each region. And because I'm a lover of music, and for me to stick to one genre is very difficult. I need to have different influences, and so the Greek, the Italian, the Spanish, it's just what I like. Arabic. So that's just what I enjoy listening to. So, and I like to express that on the stage. Is to make our audience feel like they're on a tour around the Mediterranean. I think would be the best way to describe it.
I think what I hear with you guys is love. Like it's that there's often so much more in common than not. And music and art are the gateways, for me at least, to that. And that's what I hear with you guys.
Yeah, it's an expression of passion. Yeah, absolutely.
The Rumba Kings, live at the Triple Door, March 3rd and again March 4th. We're going to leave it with a really lovely song called Lisa. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Yeah.